I'm going to have a rant about this MVP debate because some of it's going just not even too far. It's just like being too disingenuous, you know? So this will be a bit of a rant, just a forewarning. For some reason, people want to push a narrative that Lamar Jackson's only in the MVP conversation because of Derrick Henry, when that's just not really the case. Lamar Jackson was great before Derrick Henry, and with Derrick Henry on the field, it is just making everything a little bit easier and puts less pressure on Lamar. Like this notion that the Ravens are only winning games because of Derrick Henry and that they lose games when he rushes for less than 90 yards is weird, because there are a majority of games this season where Derrick Henry did not really have a lot of yards and the Ravens had a big lead. So then you use Derrick Henry to drain the clock because you're winning. It's kind of how that works. The Ravens scored 38 points against Cincinnati with Henry having 30 yards. They had a 27-point lead against Washington, and Henry had less than 90 yards. Had a 24-10 lead against Denver with Henry having 32 yards, and then they scored another touchdown, and he had 75 yards. That's just how it works. You run the ball to drain the clock. That's common, basic football knowledge. Along with that, the notion that Lamar's only an MVP candidate because he has another great player on his team is really dumb, especially when you look at the list of every other MVP winner who's had a Hall of Fame level player on their offense. Aaron Rodgers in 2020 and 21 had Devontae Adams. He's also had Jordy Nelson in his career. He's had Donald Driver in his career. He's had great receivers. Tom Brady had Rob Gronkowski and Randy Moss. He also had Wes Welker. Peyton Manning had Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. So this notion that you're only a good MVP candidate because of other players on your team is so disingenuous, because you're ignoring every other major Hall of Fame level player that's also had Hall of Fame talent to work with. Mind you, the receiving core that Lamar Jackson is working with right now and having a historic season with is not on par with guys like Randy Moss and prime Devontae Adams. I love Mark Andrews. I love Zay Flowers, okay. Mark Andrews probably is the best case of being a potential Hall of Famer on here, but the only surefire Hall of Famer in this receiving room is Derrick Henry, and he's, again, the lead running back. So, again, he's not really catching the ball that much. I guess every MVP candidate here just doesn't matter because they're only a product of their Hall of Fame weapons. So I guess Joe Montana and Steve Young, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, none of them are Hall of Fame quarterbacks or should even deserve their MVPs because they were just a product of their weapons. Do you understand how dumb that sounds? That's the logic that's being used by a lot of Bills fans. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them. This is Lamar's passer rating in every single game this year. I'm going to point out specifically the ones that are under 114. Still very good passer rating games, except for the very bottom one, very, very mid. Notice how those bottom 5 are all losses. So if you don't have a 114 passer rating game from Lamar Jackson or higher, you're going to lose the game. Lamar Jackson has to play perfect to make sure the Ravens win games. That is the definition of being the most valuable player. Having to play at a perfect level to carry the team to victory, or else you lose. And people will say, oh, well, there's 5 losses. Lamar's not going to win MVP because he has 5 losses on the season. Well, funny enough, there was a player within the last 10 years that also won an MVP with 5 losses. Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan won MVP in 2016 when the Falcons were 11-5. The Falcons didn't even have the best record in the NFC. They were tied with the New York Giants at 11-5, and the Dallas Cowboys in 2016 had the best record in the NFC. But Matt Ryan still won MVP. Whether you like it or not, Lamar Jackson is genuinely deserving of this year's MVP more so than any other player in the NFL, including Josh Allen. He's putting up one of the most historic seasons in NFL history, and he literally just broke Michael Vick's rushing record in 2.5 less seasons played. Lamar Jackson's the MVP, bar none.